Your success is not stolen overnight, it's taken by small habits you ignore every day. Think about your current life, your energy, your progress, your focus. If you feel stuck or constantly starting over, it's not because you're not capable. It's because something in your daily habits is pulling you in the wrong direction. This audiobook isn't filled with hype or fluffy advice. It's about real habits that feel normal but quietly destroy your discipline, drain your time, and weaken your potential. You might be working hard, but if you keep letting the same patterns repeat, waking up with no direction, scrolling through hours of distraction, avoiding what really matters, success will keep slipping away. This isn't just about motivation, it's about what you choose every day. If you're ready to stop wasting time and finally move forward with clarity, consistency, and control, this is your moment. You don't need more chances, you need better habits, and it starts right here. Chapter 1. Stop tolerating habits that drain ambition. People do not fail because they lack ability. Most people fail because they allow small daily habits to slowly drain their ambition. Not all damage comes from big mistakes. Most of it comes from what you allow to continue even when you know it is hurting you. Ambition does not disappear overnight. It fades when you tolerate things that weaken your drive little by little. Ambition is a fragile thing. It grows when it is protected, and it shrinks when it is neglected. Every time you stay up too late, knowing you need rest tomorrow, you take a little strength away from your future. Every time you delay an important task and tell yourself you will do it later, you weaken your belief in yourself. Over time, these small moments add up, and one day you wonder why you no longer feel hungry for more. Nothing dramatic happened. You just tolerated too much for too long. Most people do not lack dreams. They lack standards. They accept habits that do not serve them because they feel normal and familiar. Watching too much screen time. Eating in a way that drains energy. Spending time with people who complain but never change. Speaking poorly about themselves when no one is listening. These habits seem harmless because they are common, but common does not mean healthy. Common does not mean successful. The human mind learns what is acceptable through repetition. If you tolerate disorganization, you teach your mind that disorder is fine. If you tolerate laziness, you teach your mind that effort is optional. If you tolerate negative self-talk, you teach your mind that self-doubt is true. The mind believes what you allow repeatedly. It does not argue. It accepts instructions through action. Ambition requires energy. Energy comes from how you live your days. You cannot wake up inspired if you went to bed careless. You cannot feel driven if your body feels heavy and tired all the time. You cannot stay focused if your attention is constantly pulled in every direction. When ambition fades, people often blame motivation. Motivation is not the problem. Toleration is the problem. Every time you say this is fine, when it is not fine, you lower the bar for your life. Every time you say it does not matter, when it does matter, you teach yourself to accept less. Over time, you stop expecting much from yourself, and when expectations drop, results follow. Success is not stolen in one moment. It is taken quietly by habits you allow to stay. There is a cost to everything. Some costs are paid now and some are paid later. When you tolerate habits that drain ambition, you are choosing to pay later with regret, frustration, and lost confidence. Discipline feels uncomfortable at first, but regret is heavier and lasts longer. The pain of change is short. The pain of staying the same grows over time. Ambitious people are not stronger than others. They simply refuse to live with habits that weaken them. They pay attention to what affects their mood, focus, and energy. They notice patterns. They ask themselves honest questions. Is this helping me or hurting me? Is this habit moving me forward or slowly holding me back? They do not wait for things to fall apart before making changes. The hardest part of growth is not learning what to do. It is deciding what you will no longer accept. There must come a moment when you say enough. Enough poor sleep. Enough wasted mornings. Enough excuses. Enough talking and not doing. Enough waiting for the right mood. That decision is powerful because it changes how you see yourself. It tells your mind that you are serious now. Ambition grows when you keep promises to yourself. Small promises, simple promises, waking up when you said you would, doing the task you planned to do, saying no when you need to protect your time. Each kept promise builds self-respect. Each broken promise weakens it. Self-respect fuels ambition. When you trust yourself, you want more from life because you believe you can handle it. People often ask how to get motivated again. The answer is not in watching more videos or reading more quotes. The answer is in changing what you tolerate. Clean your environment. Clean your schedule. Clean your habits. Remove what drains you. Energy returns when leaks are fixed. Focus returns when noise is reduced. Confidence returns when action becomes consistent. Your daily routine either strengthens ambition or slowly wears it down. There is no neutral. The way you start your morning matters. The way you end your day matters. The conversations you repeat matter. The thoughts you allow to run unchecked matter. You are shaping your future through ordinary days. Success is not built through intensity once in a while. It is built through standards you live by daily. Standards about how you use time. Standards about how you treat your body. Standards about how you speak to yourself. Standards about what behavior you accept from yourself. When standards rise, ambition rises naturally. You must be careful what you normalize. If being tired all the time feels normal, something is wrong. If feeling distracted feels normal, something is wrong. If avoiding hard tasks feels normal, something is wrong. Normal does not equal right. Normal often equals average. And average is the enemy of ambition. Ambition thrives in environments where effort is respected. That includes the environment inside your own head. Pay attention to your inner dialogue. If it is full of doubt, excuses, and self-criticism, ambition will struggle to survive. Replace those thoughts with clear, honest direction. Speak to yourself with firmness, not cruelty. Expect more from yourself, but also guide yourself patiently. The moment you stop tolerating draining habits, you will feel discomfort. That is a sign you are changing. Comfort often hides stagnation. Growth requires alertness, effort, and awareness. You will notice resistance. You will feel the urge to return to old ways. That is normal. Do not argue with the feeling. Act anyway. Action leads emotion, not the other way around. Life rewards those who take responsibility for what they allow. You cannot control everything, but you can control what stays in your daily life. You decide what habits get a seat at the table. You decide what behaviors are acceptable. You decide when enough is enough. That decision shapes your future more than talent or luck ever will. If ambition feels low today, do not panic. Look at your habits. Look at what you have been tolerating. Make one firm decision. Remove one draining habit. Replace it with one strengthening action. Do that again tomorrow. Ambition will return quietly through consistent effort. You do not need a new personality. You need new standards. Raise them, and your life will rise to meet them. Stop tolerating habits that drain ambition and watch how quickly clarity, strength, and drive begin to return. Chapter 2. Notice daily behaviors that quietly delay success. Success is rarely blocked by one big decision. It is delayed by small daily behaviors that seem harmless in the moment. Most people are not aware of them because these behaviors feel ordinary. They fit neatly into daily routines. They hide behind busyness and good intentions. Yet day after day they quietly slow progress and drain momentum. Human behavior runs on autopilot more than people realize. Much of what you do each day happens without thought. You wake up and reach for the phone. You respond to messages before setting direction for the day. You postpone a difficult task because something easier feels better right now. None of this feels dangerous, but success does not respond to comfort. It responds to awareness. Awareness is the starting point of change. You cannot fix what you do not see. Many people work hard but move slowly because their effort is scattered. They stay busy but unfocused. They fill their days with motion instead of progress. They confuse activity with achievement. This confusion costs years. One of the most common delaying behaviors is starting the day without intention. When the day starts without direction, it quickly fills with noise. Other people's priorities take over. Urgent things crowd out important ones. By evening you feel tired but unsure what you actually moved forward. Repeating this day after day trains the mind to drift instead of aim. Another quiet delay comes from postponing decisions. Decisions require clarity and courage. Avoiding them feels easier, so people wait. They wait to start. They wait to commit. They wait to choose. Waiting creates mental weight. That weight slows action. Over time, the habit of delay becomes a habit of doubt. People also delay success by keeping too many options open. They hesitate to choose one path because choosing means letting go of others. This keeps them stuck in preparation mode. They read, they plan, they think. They never fully step forward. Progress needs commitment. Commitment creates movement. Distraction is another silent thief. Not loud distraction, but constant low-level interruption. Quick checks, short breaks that stretch longer than planned, switching tasks before finishing one. This trains the brain to avoid depth. Success requires sustained attention. Without it, even talent struggles to produce results. Many people delay success through how they talk to themselves. Inner dialogue shapes behavior. Quiet self-doubt repeated daily becomes accepted truth. Saying things like, "I am not ready," or "I am not good at this," or "I will do it later," weakens resolve. The mind listens carefully. It adjusts behavior to match repeated messages. Another behavior that delays progress is avoiding discomfort. Growth always asks for effort before reward. When discomfort appears, people pull back. They seek relief instead of results. They scroll. They snack. They switch tasks. Relief feels good for a moment, but it pushes progress further away. Comfort today often creates difficulty tomorrow. Poor use of energy is another hidden delay. Eating poorly, sleeping inconsistently, sitting too long. These choices affect focus and mood. When energy is low, discipline feels harder. People then blame willpower. Willpower struggles in a tired body. Caring for energy is not a luxury, it is a requirement for progress. There is also the habit of reacting instead of leading. Many days are spent responding to problems instead of working on goals, emails, messages, small fires. When reaction becomes the norm, long-term plans fade. Success needs time protected for thinking and building. Without that time, goals remain ideas. Some behaviors delay success by weakening self-trust. Saying you will do something and not doing it, making plans and breaking them. Over time, the mind stops taking your intentions seriously. Motivation drops because belief drops. Self-trust is built through follow-through. Without it, ambition struggles to stay alive. Another common delay comes from staying in environments that do not support growth. Conversations filled with complaints, humor built around negativity, spending time with people who discourage effort. Environment shapes standards. When low standards feel normal, progress slows quietly. People also delay success by waiting to feel confident. Confidence does not come before action, it comes after repeated effort. Waiting to feel ready keeps people stuck. Acting while uncertain builds confidence through experience. Experience is the teacher confidence listens to. There is a subtle delay in perfectionism, wanting things done perfectly before sharing or starting. Perfection feels responsible but often hides fear. Progress comes from adjustment, not perfection. Waiting too long to begin costs learning time. Daily success is shaped by small, honest moments. Moments when you notice avoidance, moments when you choose effort, moments when you finish instead of starting something new. These moments rarely feel dramatic. They feel ordinary, but they compound. Noticing behavior requires stillness, a pause before reacting, a question asked honestly. Why am I doing this right now? Is this moving me closer or just keeping me busy? Awareness changes behavior without force. Once you see a pattern clearly, it loses power. You do not need to judge yourself harshly. Judgment creates resistance. Observation creates clarity. Simply notice. Notice how mornings are used. Notice how often tasks are delayed. Notice what drains focus. Notice when excuses appear. Awareness brings choice back into the picture. Success speeds up when daily behavior aligns with long-term goals. Alignment removes friction. When actions match intention, energy flows. When they conflict, energy leaks away. Most people live with small conflicts all day long. They want progress but choose comfort. That conflict is exhausting. Change begins when you interrupt one small pattern, one decision made earlier, one task finished instead of postponed, one distraction removed, one honest conversation with yourself. These changes feel small, but they shift identity. Identity drives behavior. You become what you repeatedly do when no one is watching. Success responds to consistency, not intensity. By noticing daily behaviors, you regain control of direction. Direction creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. The future is shaped quietly, not in big speeches but in private choices. Notice them, adjust them, protect them. Success will stop feeling far away when daily behavior stops working against it. Chapter 3. Break cycles of comfort that block progress. Progress slows down when comfort becomes the main goal. Comfort feels harmless. It feels earned. It feels deserved. Yet comfort has a quiet way of building walls around potential. People rarely notice when comfort shifts from rest to routine. Once that shift happens, growth becomes optional and effort feels unnecessary. This is how progress gets blocked without resistance. Comfort is not the enemy. Staying there too long is. The human brain loves familiarity. It prefers what is known even if what is known is limiting. The mind chooses predictability over possibility because predictability feels safe. Over time, safety becomes a priority and growth becomes a risk. That risk is avoided again and again until it feels natural to stay where you are. Cycles of comfort begin small. You choose the easier option once. You delay something difficult because tomorrow feels better. You repeat that choice. Soon the easier option becomes the default. What started as a break turns into a pattern. Patterns shape behavior. Behavior shapes results. This happens quietly. Many people believe they are stuck because they lack opportunity. In truth, they are stuck because their daily life has become too comfortable to challenge. Growth asks questions. Comfort avoids them. Growth demands effort. Comfort negotiates delay. When comfort leads, progress follows slowly or not at all. One of the strongest comfort cycles is routine without intention. Doing the same things every day because they are familiar. Familiarity feels efficient, but it can hide stagnation. When days look the same for too long, learning stops. When learning stops, progress stops. The routine still feels productive, but the results flatten. Comfort also shows up in thinking. Thinking the same thoughts, holding the same beliefs, telling the same story about who you are and what is possible. This mental comfort creates invisible limits. You stop questioning assumptions. You stop stretching ideas. Growth requires new thinking. Comfort protects old conclusions. Another cycle comes from avoiding discomfort quickly. When stress appears, people seek relief instead of resolution. Relief feels good for a moment. Resolution requires effort and patience. Choosing relief repeatedly trains the brain to escape rather than endure. Endurance builds strength. Escape builds habit. Comfort cycles often wear the mask of balance. People say they are taking it easy or protecting their peace. Peace is important, but progress also needs challenge. A life with no pressure becomes dull. Ambition fades when there is nothing pushing back. A little pressure sharpens focus. Too little dulls it. People stay comfortable because discomfort brings uncertainty. Uncertainty feels unsettling. The mind asks, what if this does not work? That question stops many before they begin. Comfort offers certainty. You know how today will feel. You know what effort is required. Growth offers possibility but no guarantee. Courage is choosing possibility anyway. Breaking comfort cycles starts with honesty. Honest observation of where effort has been replaced by ease. Honest awareness of tasks avoided repeatedly. Honest recognition of habits chosen because they feel good now, not because they help later. This honesty is uncomfortable. That discomfort is the signal change is near. Small challenges break big comfort patterns. You do not need to disrupt everything. One deliberate discomfort a day builds strength. Choosing the harder task first. Ending a habit that no longer serves you. Starting something before you feel ready. These actions wake ambition. Discomfort creates alertness. Alertness brings learning. Learning leads to progress. Comfort dulls awareness. It numbs urgency. It makes time pass quietly. Years pass this way, not with disaster, but with regret. Regret often comes from things not attempted, not from things tried. Another comfort cycle is social comfort. Staying around people who think the same, talk the same, and stay the same. These environments feel warm and familiar. They rarely challenge. Growth needs exposure to different thinking. New standards expand vision. Comfort keeps vision narrow. Breaking comfort also requires changing how you rest. Rest should restore, not replace effort. When rest becomes escape, energy declines. True rest supports work. It prepares you to return stronger. Using rest to avoid responsibility weakens momentum. Progress requires friction. Friction reveals limits. Limits can be expanded. Comfort avoids friction. Without friction, strength does not develop. Muscles grow through resistance. Skills grow through practice. Confidence grows through effort. Comfort bypasses these processes. The mind will resist change. It will argue. It will remind you of how good comfort feels. It will justify delay. That resistance is predictable. It does not mean you are wrong. It means you are stretching. Stretching feels strange at first. With repetition, it becomes normal. Action creates new comfort. What once felt difficult becomes manageable. New standards form. Growth then feels natural. Comfort is not eliminated. It is upgraded. You become comfortable with effort. Comfortable with challenge. Comfortable with learning. Progress speeds up when you act before comfort settles in. Do the thing while resistance is loud. Delay strengthens resistance. Action weakens it. Momentum follows movement, not planning. Cycles of comfort are broken through choice, repeated daily. One choice does not change identity. Repetition does. Choosing effort again and again rewires expectation. You begin to expect more from yourself. That expectation raises performance. Life responds to standards. When standards rise, opportunities appear. Skills sharpen. Confidence grows. When standards stay low, comfort dominates. Progress waits. Breaking comfort cycles does not require force. It requires decision. Decision backed by action. Action backed by consistency. Consistency reshapes identity. Identity drives destiny. Progress lives on the edge of comfort. Step there daily. Stay there briefly. Return stronger. Over time, the edge moves forward. So do you. Chapter 4. Question routines that keep life average. Average doesn't begin with a single bad decision. It begins with unnoticed routines that run your life without being questioned. These routines shape how you spend your mornings, how you speak to yourself, how you respond to discomfort, and how you approach goals. They are rarely challenged because they've been repeated so often that they feel right. But just because something feels normal doesn't mean it's helping you grow. In fact, the routines that feel the most automatic are often the ones holding you back the most. Look closely at how you live your days. The things you do without thinking are the things you've given the most power. Your routine becomes your lifestyle, and your lifestyle determines your future. If your days are filled with habits that keep you comfortable, distracted, or stuck in patterns that never stretch you, your future will look a lot like your past. That's not because you lack potential, It's because you haven't challenged the process that's keeping your life predictable. Many people live the same day over and over again and call it a life. They wake up, scroll through their phone, go through tasks on autopilot, avoid what matters most, and wonder why they don't feel fulfilled. The routine is familiar, but it's not built for success. It's built for survival. It keeps things manageable, but it doesn't move you toward excellence. It doesn't demand growth. It just repeats what feels safe. To break free from average, you must question what you're doing daily. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? What result is this giving me? Is this habit moving me forward, keeping me in place, or pulling me backward? When you stop and really ask those questions, you'll start to see that a lot of your routine is based on convenience, not intention, and convenience has never built anything great. Excellence doesn't show up randomly. It's the result of conscious choices, repeated with purpose. When you start to look at your routine with honest eyes, you'll find gaps, small actions that take time but give nothing back, ways of thinking that limit how you show up, tasks you think are productive but are really just distraction. You'll notice how easy it is to look busy while avoiding your true priorities. This is how average hides. It hides in what you tolerate. Questioning your routine doesn't mean throwing away structure. It means building a better one. A routine built on intention will challenge you, but it will also reward you. It will create momentum instead of frustration. It will support your goals instead of delay them. But first you must have the courage to disrupt what feels comfortable. Take an honest look at your morning. The first hour of your day sets the tone for everything that follows. If you start your morning in reaction mode, responding to messages, scrolling through social media, rushing without purpose, you teach your mind that the day controls you, not the other way around. A morning filled with noise leaves no room for clarity. But a morning started with calm direction. Reading something that feeds your mind, writing down goals, moving your body, changes how you show up. That one change can raise your standards for the entire day. Now look at your evening. Are you closing your day with intention or escaping from it? Are you reflecting on your progress or numbing out with mindless content? The final hour of your day shapes how you sleep, and how you sleep shapes your energy. Energy is not something you find, it's something you build with good choices, and your routine either builds it or drains it. Look at how you manage time. Are your most important tasks scheduled, or do they get squeezed in around everything else? Are you using your best hours on work that matters, or wasting them on things that look urgent but don't change anything? A life of meaning is not found in checking off random tasks. It's built by doing what matters consistently, even when it's uncomfortable. Routines that prioritize comfort over progress eventually steal your confidence, because deep down you know you were meant for more. Also pay attention to who you are around when you're living these routines. People influence your habits more than you think. If the people you spend time with avoid growth, complain often, and settle for the minimum, their mindset will shape yours unless you consciously protect your standards. You cannot rise while living in routines shaped by people who choose average. Sometimes the most dangerous routine is the one you defend. The one you say works fine, even though it hasn't taken you anywhere new in a long time. When you catch yourself saying this is just how I do things, pause, ask why. Why is this the way? Why do I feel attached to it? Often we stick to routines because they give us a sense of control. But real progress requires letting go of what's easy in order to grow into what's possible. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. And progress starts with awareness. Noticing what isn't working. Being willing to admit that parts of your daily life are outdated, that they once served a purpose, but no longer align with your goals. Growth is uncomfortable, because it requires you to outgrow parts of yourself. Routines included. Change starts when you make new decisions, not big, overwhelming ones. Small shifts that redirect your focus. Wake up 30 minutes earlier, and use that time to build something meaningful. Stop multitasking and give your full attention to one task at a time. Limit your screen time in the evening, so your mind can rest. These changes are simple, but not easy. That's why they matter. Because the easy choice is usually the average one. You were not born to live an average life. You were not built to repeat the same loop forever. Every person has the power to design a routine that reflects their highest potential. But it takes effort. It takes honesty. And it takes consistency. When you start to live with intention, you begin to feel different. Your thoughts shift. Your confidence builds. Your results improve. And you realize that the version of you who once accepted average is no longer in charge. You've replaced reaction with purpose. You've replaced distraction with focus. You've replaced routine with growth. This is how change happens. Not overnight. Not in one big breakthrough, but in small moments where you stop and say, "Is this how I want to live?" If the answer is no, do something about it. Today. Because waiting doesn't make routines better. It just makes them stronger. And every day you stay in the same pattern is a day lost to the future you could be building. Question everything that keeps you where you are. Question it, not with judgment, but with curiosity. Could this be done better? Is this serving the life I want? Is this the best use of my time, my mind, my energy? When you start asking those kinds of questions, average doesn't stand a chance. And that's the point. You're not here to set, you're here to lead your life, not just live it. Chapter 5. Remove habits that weaken discipline daily. Discipline doesn't disappear all at once. It weakens through quiet choices made day after day. It's not about one bad moment. It's about the small habits you let slide, the ones that feel like they don't matter. But they do. They matter more than you think. Because every decision you make, especially when no one's watching, is either building your self-discipline or breaking it down. If you want to build a life you're proud of, you have to remove the habits that slowly take your strength away. There's no mystery behind why some people stay consistent and others don't. It comes down to the habits they repeat. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. And when those habits are weak, when they're rooted in convenience or avoidance, discipline fades fast. You may still want big things. You may still dream, but without the structure to support those dreams, they never become reality. Start by looking at your mornings. The way you begin your day is one of the clearest indicators of your discipline. If the first thing you do is grab your phone, scroll through meaningless content, and let the outside world decide your state of mind, you're not in control. That morning routine becomes a signal to your brain that comfort comes first. That reaction is more important than direction. Over time, this one small habit chips away at your focus, and your ability to lead yourself becomes weaker. Now look at the things you say to yourself. Habits are not just actions, they're thoughts. Telling yourself, "I'll start tomorrow," sounds innocent, but repeated often, it becomes a lifestyle. You teach your mind that delay is acceptable. And when delay becomes normal, discipline loses its edge. People don't drift into discipline, they build it. And that building begins with truth. Honest truth about what you're doing that's working against you. Another daily habit that weakens discipline is breaking small promises to yourself. It could be something as simple as saying you'll drink more water, go for a walk, or avoid junk food, and then not following through. These broken promises don't just affect your health or your schedule, they affect your identity. Each time you go back on your word, you train yourself to believe that what you say doesn't really matter. You stop trusting yourself. And if you don't believe you'll do what you say, why would you keep trying? Discipline is built through follow-through, through the act of doing what needs to be done, even when it's inconvenient, boring, or uncomfortable. Habits that pull you away from this, like hitting snooze over and over, starting tasks and never finishing them, constantly shifting focus, or over-consuming entertainment, all take a toll. These habits make it harder to follow through on anything that actually matters, because you've built a pattern of quitting before finishing. There's also the habit of overcomplicating, making plans so detailed and rigid that they collapse after one small failure. Discipline thrives on simplicity. When your system is too complex, you don't follow it, you fall into the trap of starting strong and fizzing out fast. Keep things simple, create habits that are easy to repeat, not impressive to talk about. Avoiding discomfort is another habit that slowly eats away at discipline. When every challenge becomes something you back away from, you teach your nervous system that pressure is dangerous. But the truth is, pressure is where growth lives. Pushing through resistance is where discipline is built. If your daily actions are always designed around what feels good or easy, you'll never develop the mental toughness required for long-term success. Another dangerous habit is constantly seeking distraction, checking your phone every few minutes, jumping between tasks, keeping notifications on all day. These might feel small, but they break your ability to focus, and discipline needs focus. Without it, you lose track of what matters. You drift. You waste hours, you wonder where the day went, and the more you allow that to happen, the more normal it feels to be unfocused. Some people carry the habit of always needing to feel motivated before they act. That mindset is a trap. Motivation comes and goes. If you wait to feel ready every time you need to take action, you'll rarely take action. Discipline means doing it anyway, showing up tired, showing up busy, showing up when your mood is off. When you live by motivation, you're inconsistent. When you live by discipline, you become dependable. People often underestimate how much their environment affects their habits. If your surroundings are filled with clutter, noise, and chaos, your discipline will reflect that. If your closest influences are people who constantly complain, quit, or take shortcuts, you'll begin to lower your own standards. It's not about judgment, it's about awareness. What you allow around you slowly becomes what you expect from yourself. Choose carefully. Tracking nothing is another habit that weakens discipline. When you don't measure anything, your time, your effort, your progress, you lose clarity. And without clarity, there's no urgency. You start to live by feeling instead of data. Discipline grows when you can see where you're slipping and where you're improving. If you're not checking in with yourself, you're drifting. It's also important to watch out for mental habits that seem productive but actually hold you back. Overthinking.
doubting yourself at every step, replaying mistakes over and over. These habits drain your energy and delay your decisions. Discipline requires action, not perfection. Every time you get stuck in your head, you lose valuable time and momentum. Build the habit of acting with what you know now and adjusting as you go. Rest is a powerful tool, but the habit of using rest as an excuse to escape responsibility is damaging. There's a difference between rest and avoidance. One fuels you, the other weakens you. When you constantly use "I'm tired" as a reason to not do the work, you make fatigue your identity. Everyone gets tired, but not everyone lets that stop them. Learn to rest and then return. Don't rest and retreat. Removing habits that weaken discipline isn't about becoming harsh with yourself. It's about protecting your potential. It's about realizing that every small decision matters. It's about choosing long-term strength over short-term comfort. When you remove these habits, even slowly, you make room for stronger ones to grow. Start with one. One habit you know is costing you energy, time, or focus. Replace it with a simple action that supports who you want to become. Keep it going. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Begin today. Then build from there. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent with what matters. It's about becoming the kind of person who follows through, who gets things done, who shows up for their life with purpose. And that starts by removing what gets in the way, one habit at a time.
Chapter 6. Replace avoidance patterns with deliberate action. Avoidance shows up in many different ways. It doesn't always look like laziness. It can look like waiting for the perfect time. It can look like over-planning. It can look like telling yourself you're not ready yet. It can even look like staying busy with things that don't really matter. Avoidance doesn't scream. It whispers, and over time it becomes a pattern that keeps your life on pause. Most people don't even realize they're avoiding. They think they're being careful. They think they're preparing, but days turn into weeks, and nothing truly important gets done. That's the cost of avoidance. It steals time without making noise. It keeps you in motion, but never in direction. It gives you the illusion of progress while your real goals stay untouched. Avoidance is driven by emotion, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of discomfort. But fear is not the problem. The problem is letting fear decide your actions. If you let fear drive, it will always take you away from growth. The brain wants to keep you safe, so it pushes you toward what's familiar. Familiar feels secure, but familiar does not bring change. To change this pattern, you have to catch it in the moment. You have to stop and ask yourself, what am I putting off? What task, decision, or responsibility have I been pushing aside? What am I convincing myself I'll do later, even though I know it matters now? This kind of self-check pulls avoidance out of hiding. Because once you're aware of it, you can no longer pretend it's not there. Deliberate action is the solution, not massive action all at once. Not trying to fix everything in a day, just one clear, purposeful move in the direction you've been avoiding. Action, especially when it's uncomfortable, teaches the brain something powerful. I don't run from hard things. Every you do the thing you don't want to do, you shift your identity. You stop being someone who escapes and start becoming someone who shows up.
Deliberate action is not about being busy. It's about being honest. It's about doing what matters, not what feels urgent. Many people spend their time checking boxes that don't move them forward. They clean the house instead of making the call. They organize files instead of writing the first page. They research endlessly instead of making a decision. This is avoidance dressed up as productivity, and it keeps people stuck for years. There is power in doing what you don't feel ready for. Most people wait to feel motivated. They wait for the fear to go away. But motivation is unreliable. Fear doesn't disappear by thinking. It disappears through action. Confidence is not a requirement for action. It's a result of it. The more you do, the more capable you feel. The more capable you feel, the more you grow. Avoidance becomes automatic when it's repeated. But action can become automatic too. The way to build that is through repetition. Start small. Pick one thing you've been putting off and do it today. Not perfectly, just honestly. Then do something again tomorrow. Build the habit of movement, not random movement. Deliberate, focused movement towards something you care about. There's also a mental shift that happens when you replace avoidance. You stop living in your head and start living in your action. When you're stuck in avoidance, your mind becomes loud. You replay doubts. You overanalyze details. You imagine worst-case outcomes. But when you start doing, the mind gets quiet. The noise fades because energy is being used on progress. Action clears confusion. People often say, "I'm not sure what to do." But they stay stuck because they wait for clarity without movement. Clarity comes from trying, from testing, from doing the wrong thing and learning. Avoidance keeps you guessing. Action gives you answers. Even a small step forward gives you more information than hours of overthinking. Avoidance also affects how you feel about yourself. When you avoid, you feel guilt. You feel pressure building up. You feel disconnected from your goals. But when you act, even on a small scale, you feel pride, you feel progress, you feel momentum. That momentum is what builds consistency. And consistency is what builds success. There's a quiet confidence that grows when you follow through. It's not loud. It doesn't need praise. It just feels steady. That confidence grows every time you do the thing you promised yourself you'd do. Not because someone else told you to. Not because it was easy. But because it was right. And when you make enough of those choices, your entire life begins to shift. People think discipline is about rules, but discipline is really about choice. Choosing what needs to be done over what's easy. Choosing what builds your future over what comforts your fear. Avoidance removes that choice by making delay feel automatic. But the moment you interrupt the pattern, you take your power back. It's not about doing everything today. It's about doing something meaningful today. One thing. That's where real strength comes from. Stacking one honest action on top of another. Even if you're tired. Even if you're afraid. Even if it's uncomfortable. That's how change is built. Not by waiting, not by hoping, but by moving. Even when it's hard. Sometimes the first action is just showing up. Opening the laptop. Making the call. Saying the thing that's hard to say. These are small acts on the surface, but they carry weight. They tell the world, and more importantly, They tell you that you're no longer choosing avoidance. You're choosing growth. And growth is never convenient. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It appears when you decide to meet it. Avoidance says, maybe tomorrow. Action says, today matters. Avoidance says, I'm not sure I can. Action says, I'll find out. Every time you delay something important, you create distance from who you want to become. Every time you act, you close that gap. That's the difference between drifting and building, between frustration and fulfillment, between regret and real progress. Replacing avoidance doesn't happen overnight, but it starts the moment you decide to stop letting your emotions run the show. It starts when you choose discomfort over delay, when you stop escaping and start engaging. That decision may feel small, but it changes everything. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need endless time. You need a shift in how you respond to challenge, and that shift begins with one moment of action. Not next week. Not when life gets easier. Right now, because right now is where your future begins.
Chapter 7. End self-sabotage disguised as relaxation. One of the most dangerous habits people fall into is convincing themselves they're resting when they're actually running. Running from responsibility. Running from pressure. Running from the work they know they need to do. And because it's so common and so quiet, most people don't even realize they're doing it. They call it taking a break. But it's not rest. It's avoidance dressed as relaxation. This kind of self-sabotage feels comforting in the moment, but it creates deep damage over time. It steals clarity, drains confidence, and delays progress in ways that are hard to notice until months or years have passed. Real rest is intentional. It's planned. It supports recovery and prepares you to return to your goals stronger. But when you use rest as an escape, it doesn't restore anything. It leaves you feeling more tired, more behind, and more disconnected from your potential. The problem isn't the break. The problem is what the break is hiding. Too many people are stuck in this loop. They say they need to unwind, but what they're really doing is avoiding effort. They say they're burned out, but they haven't done enough meaningful work to be burned out. They're just exhausted from avoiding what matters. The constant mental weight of unfinished goals wears down their energy more than the actual work ever could. When you scroll for hours, binge shows night after night, eat mindlessly, or stay up too late doing nothing productive, that's not recovery, that's retreat. And retreat becomes a habit if you don't confront it. The hard truth is that most people aren't tired from doing too much. They're tired from doing too little of what gives their life meaning. You have to be honest with yourself. Are you really resting? Or are you hiding from the work? That question can be uncomfortable, but it's necessary. You can't grow if you keep lying to yourself, telling yourself that you'll get back on track tomorrow, while using today to escape never works. Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Soon, you don't even remember the last time you truly pushed yourself. People often say they need time to decompress, but what they're really doing is numbing out. They're not decompressing, they're disconnecting. Disconnecting from their own standards, disconnecting from their values, disconnecting from the uncomfortable truth that their habits aren't aligned with who they want to become. And because this behavior is easy to explain away, because it's normalized in our culture, it's the most accepted form of self-sabotage.
You don't need to earn rest with perfection, but you do need to be aware of why you're resting. Rest is a tool, not an escape. It's something that should leave you better, not worse. If you come out of your so-called rest feeling more anxious, more stuck, or more behind, that's not rest. That's avoidance in disguise. What makes this so tricky is that the comfort is real. The temporary relief you feel while avoiding your priorities is powerful. It soothes your nervous system. It gives your mind a break, but that break is short-lived because the moment the distraction ends, the weight returns, heavier than before, the guilt sets in. The frustration grows, and then to avoid those feelings, you retreat again. That's the cycle. That's how you lose weeks, months, even years. You have to draw a line. You have to decide that you won't keep trading long-term fulfillment for short-term comfort. That you won't keep calling avoidance self-care when it's really just self-sabotage. You have to take your goals seriously enough to protect them from your weaker moment, because if you don't, no one else will. Discipline isn't just about pushing hard all the time. It's also about knowing when to rest the right way, when to pause with purpose, when to step back so you can step up. But most people aren't doing that. They're letting their low moments decide their routine. They're letting tiredness become an excuse for disconnection instead of a signal for better recovery. And rest isn't only about what you stop doing, it's about what you start doing that helps you reset. That might mean reading something that sharpens your thinking, taking a walk without distractions, sleeping deeply without devices in your hand, spending time with people who refill your energy. These are forms of rest that don't steal from you. They give something back. You have to learn the difference between habits that recharge and habits that delay. One adds strength to your life, the other keeps you weak. The easy option is always tempting, but if it becomes your go-to, you will lose the ability to handle pressure. And without that ability, every challenge feels heavier than it actually is. Self-sabotage through false relaxation also weakens your self-image. When you know deep down that you've been avoiding what matters, your confidence drops, and when confidence drops, decision-making becomes harder. You start doubting yourself, you overthink simple things, you pull back from opportunities, all because you've trained yourself to escape instead of engage. But this can change quickly once you start being deliberate. Start small. Choose one moment each day where you know you normally interrupt it. Choose action, even a little. Maybe it's starting that workout when you feel like sitting down. Maybe it's writing the first sentence instead of watching another video. Maybe it's going to bed at the time you said you would. These actions may seem small, but they carry power. They rebuild self-trust. Every time you make that choice, you take back control, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. You start to crave real progress more than fake peace. You stop needing constant comfort, because you've built real confidence, and confidence is a better reward than any distraction could offer. You were not made to live in escape mode. You were built to face life with clarity, with presence, and with purpose. That starts by ending the quiet patterns that pretend to help you, but actually hold you back. It starts by questioning your comfort, by asking yourself what you're choosing, and why. This isn't about never resting. It's about resting on purpose. It's about choosing habits that rebuild your focus instead of draining it. It's about building a life where rest is earned, enjoyed, and used wisely, not as a hiding place, but as a tool for strength. When you stop calling avoidance rest, you free yourself. You stop pretending and start performing. You stop wishing and start working. That's how you turn your life around. Not through one huge moment, but through 100 small, honest ones. The ones where you choose growth over escape. That's how you win back your time, your energy, and your self-respect. One real choice at a time. Chapter 8. Change daily choices that limit potential. Your potential is not hidden in some distant future. It's shaped by the choices you make every single day. What you do consistently is what builds the direction of your life, not your goals, not your intentions, not what you say you'll do, your daily decisions. And while most people dream of changing their lives, they rarely look closely at the small actions that are slowly holding them back. They don't realize that it's not the big mistakes stopping them. It's the quiet choices they keep repeating without thinking. The truth is, you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your habits. You fall to the level of your daily standards. If your choices don't reflect who you want to become, they will keep you stuck as who you've always been. This is why so many people feel frustrated. They want more, but continue to act in ways that limit their progress. They tell themselves they're working towards something meaningful, but their actions say otherwise, and if that pattern continues long enough, it becomes identity. Small decisions don't feel powerful in the moment. Saying yes to one more distraction, putting off a task until later, skipping something you promised yourself you'd do, they feel harmless. But when these decisions happen daily, they add up. Not just in time lost, but in self-trust damaged. The longer you live with low-effort choices, the harder it is to believe you can do better. That belief becomes your ceiling. Not because it's true, but because you've taught yourself to accept it. Changing your daily choices starts with awareness, not judgment, not shame, just honest awareness of what you're choosing and why. Ask yourself, does this decision take me closer to the person I want to become, or further? That question can be uncomfortable, but it forces clarity. It shines a light on where you've been coasting. It breaks the illusion that your potential will be fulfilled by chance. Some of the most limiting choices are the ones that feel the most normal. Sleeping in longer than planned, saying I'll do it later without a plan, starting your day without structure, ending your day in chaos, accepting low standards because they're familiar. These habits don't ruin your life all at once, but they quietly shape a future that looks exactly like the present. Your life doesn't change when you set goals. It changes when you take control of how you move through a single day, when you stop negotiating with effort, when you stop making excuses for things you can change, when you stop telling yourself that now isn't the right time. Now is the only time that belongs to you. If you don't respect today, you'll waste the week. If you waste enough weeks, you waste years. And years are not something you can get back. Look at the small routines that feel automatic. What time you wake up, how you spend your first hour, what you eat, what you listen to, how you speak to yourself, what you allow into your mind, who you give your energy to. These decisions are not random. They're shaping your mind, your focus, your health, and your results. Every one of them can be adjusted, but only if you care enough to question them. There's no shortcut around this. You don't get strong by wishing. You don't become disciplined by talking about it. You become it through effort, through structure, through choosing the hard thing when the easy thing is available. Those are the moments that define you, not because they feel good, but because they make you stronger. They teach you how to lead yourself, and once you learn to lead yourself, your potential starts to unlock. Changing your choices doesn't mean becoming perfect. It means becoming intentional. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in 1 week. You need to take one step and repeat it until it becomes part of you. Choose one part of your routine that you know is limiting you. Replace it with something better, not easier, better, then build from there. A huge mistake people make is thinking change has to be extreme. That's why they start fast and quit early. They try to fix everything at once and get overwhelmed. But growth happens when you make one powerful decision and prove to yourself that you can keep it. The goal is not intensity. The goal is consistency. That's how you earn back your confidence. You have to stop settling for average behavior if you want exceptional outcomes. That means doing things differently than you have in the past. It means getting serious about the way you manage time, the way you treat your body, the way you prepare for each day, the way you talk to yourself when no one's listening. Because all of that matters. All of it plays a role in how far you go. You cannot expect success while choosing comfort every day. You cannot expect growth while repeating choices that lead nowhere. You cannot expect change while staying loyal to old habits. The truth is, your future is waiting for you to stop playing small. It's waiting for you to act like it matters. Not just on the days when motivation is high, but every day, especially the ones that feel slow and ordinary. The fastest way to shift your path is to raise your standards. To stop tolerating actions that drain your focus, waste your time, or steal your energy. When you remove those habits, you create space for something better, and better doesn't come from luck. It comes from repetition, from showing up when it's boring, from doing what you said you'd do, from choosing alignment over impulse. Potential isn't something you discover, it's something you build, through choices, through effort, through decisions made in silence, when no one else is watching. That's where real progress is made. Not in public, but in private. When you do the thing you've been avoiding. When you finish the task, even when you don't feel like it. When you speak to yourself with respect, even on the hard days. It's easy to stay stuck. All you have to do is keep making the same choices. Keep following the same routine. Keep saying you'll change, while doing nothing different. That's how most people live. And they never understand why things don't improve. The answer is always in their habits. But you're not most people. You're here because you care about becoming more. So start acting like it. Start making decisions that reflect that intention. It won't always be easy. It won't always feel good. But it will always be worth it. Because every time you choose effort over escape, you get closer to your real potential, and nothing feels better than knowing you built that on purpose.
Chapter 9. Interrupt patterns that steal focus and drive. Focus isn't something you're born with, it's something you protect. It's built through what you allow into your mind and what you shut out. Your ability to stay focused and driven is directly shaped by the patterns you repeat. And in today's world, most of those patterns are designed to steal your attention, drain your energy, and leave you feeling mentally exhausted without actually getting anything important done. If you're not careful, your day will be controlled by distractions, not direction. And the worst part, most of it happens without you even realizing it. Look around at how people live. They're checking their phones every few minutes, opening social media without even thinking, jumping between tasks the second they feel bored or challenged, getting pulled into conversations that have no purpose. These are not accidents. They're patterns, and patterns become habits. Once those habits settle in, they run the day. Not your goals, not your values, just the habits you didn't take the time to interrupt. Losing focus once isn't the problem, but repeating it day after day becomes a serious limitation. It's not about willpower, it's about environment, triggers, and decisions. When you let distractions become your default, you train your brain to avoid depth. You train it to chase stimulation instead of staying grounded. That doesn't just affect your productivity, it changes the way you think, the way you feel, and the results you're able to produce. You have to understand how much of your drive depends on clarity. You can't move with power if you don't know where your energy is going. And you won't feel driven if every time you sit down to work, your focus is shattered by noise. Drive is built through progress, and progress only comes when your attention is locked in. The more scattered you are, the more overwhelmed you feel. And overwhelmed people don't take action, they stall. Interrupting these patterns starts with recognition. You can't fix what you keep pretending isn't there. You have to step back and ask yourself, what am I allowing into my day that steals my mental energy? What behaviors am I repeating that leave me feeling drained but unaccomplished? What distractions do I excuse as breaks that actually pull me away from my purpose? These aren't small questions, they're foundation. Start by paying attention to how you use your time. Not in theory, but in practice. How often do you reach for your phone without needing to? How quickly do you switch tabs when something gets uncomfortable? How long do you spend getting ready to do the work instead of just starting? Every one of those moments is a pattern, a loop that keeps you stuck in surface-level effort. And when surface level becomes your default, you never tap into your deeper potential. Interrupting a pattern doesn't require you to be perfect. It requires you to be intentional. You don't need to go off the grid or shut out the world. You need to create boundaries that protect your attention. You need to design your day around what matters, not just what's loud. Most distractions aren't strong. They're just convenient, and convenience wins when your life isn't designed with clarity. Build systems that support focus. Turn off notifications that don't serve a purpose. Keep your workspace clean and minimal. Set specific times to check messages instead of responding to everything as it comes in. When you take back control of your space, your time and your energy, you take back control of your results. Because real focus isn't about effort alone, it's about structure. Your drive depends on momentum, and momentum dies when you're constantly stopping to check in with the world. You don't need to know everything that's happening every hour. You don't need to respond to everyone the second they reach out. You don't need to be available to everything just because it's available to you. Protecting your drive means choosing what gets your attention, not letting everything have it by default. One of the most overlooked focus killers is decision fatigue. When your day is filled with unnecessary choices, your brain burns out before you even get to the important work. That's why routines matter. Not to restrict you, but to simplify your path. When you automate the simple things, you save your best energy for what really counts.
And what counts is the work that moves your life forward, not the distractions that make it easier to avoid that work. Interrupting patterns also means questioning your internal dialogue. It's not just external noise that steals focus, it's the thoughts you repeat. Telling yourself that you're easily distracted, that you can't concentrate, that you're just not a focused person. These are self-fulfilling scripts. The more you say them, the more you believe them. And the more you believe them, the more you live them. If you want to stay focused, talk to yourself like someone who values their time, like someone who takes their mission seriously. Drive isn't just about passion, it's about persistence, and persistence needs direction. That direction can't exist if your day is ruled by distractions. You have to choose what deserves your focus. You have to be ruthless about cutting out what doesn't. That might mean saying no to things that used to fill your time. It might mean pulling back from conversations that don't align with your goals. It might mean walking away from habits that feel good in the moment, but leave you empty in the end. Every decision to protect your focus is a decision to respect your future. When you start noticing the patterns that keep you stuck, you gain power. You start seeing how much time and energy you've been giving to things that never deserved it. And in that awareness, you get a choice. A real choice. Not just to stop the pattern, but to replace it with something better, something intentional, something that reflects the kind of life you want to build. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to be perfect with your time every day. You just need to start choosing your focus on purpose. Make space for deep work. Make space for silence. Make space for thinking, reflecting, and building something that matters. You'll be surprised how fast your drive returns when you remove what's been blocking it all along. The world will always compete for your attention. There will always be something new to check, something easier to do, someone to reply to, some noise pulling you away. That won't change. But what can change is your response to it. You can stop giving away your time to things that do nothing for your growth. You can take back control of your mind and direct it with strength. Every pattern that steals your focus is a choice that can be reversed. You just have to care enough to make that choice. One decision, one boundary, one shift at a time. And once you start choosing differently, you'll feel it. You'll feel more present, more energized, more locked in. That's your real power. Not just the ability to do more, but the ability to direct your life with clarity and purpose. Starting now. Chapter 10. Rewrite habits that decide your future. Every result you will ever create is rooted in the habits you live by today, not someday in the future. Not when life feels perfect. Right now, you are training your future every single day, and the habits you repeat, especially the small ones, are writing that future, whether you're paying attention to them or not. This isn't just about success or productivity, this is about direction. The direction your life is quietly headed in, based on what you choose to do over and over again when no one else is watching. Most people think their future will change when they get a new opportunity, a lucky break, or the perfect plan. But that's not how it works. Your future changes when your habits do. The ones you live with in the quiet moments, the ones that seem small enough to ignore, the ones you defend even when you know they don't serve you. Those habits are not just routines, they are choices, and those choices are forming your character. You don't rise above the system you live in, you become it. If your habits are filled with delay, excuses, avoidance, and low standards, your results will always fall below your potential. Not because you're not capable, but because the structure of your life doesn't support growth. People underestimate the power of habit because it feels too simple. But the truth is, there is nothing more powerful than the patterns you repeat without thinking. This is why rewriting your habits is not about being perfect. It's about being honest. It's about looking at what you're currently doing and asking, does this support the life I want, or does it slowly pull me away from it? That question doesn't require motivation. It requires clarity. It requires the courage to admit that some of your habits are holding you back, not because you're weak, but because you stopped questioning them. You have to look at the actions you've normalized: waking up late and rushing through your morning, checking your phone before you've even gotten out of bed, skipping meals or choosing food that drains your energy, starting tasks without finishing them, going to bed at random hours and calling it freedom. These are not neutral choices, they are habits, and those habits are shaping what kind of person you're becoming. If you want to change your future, you have to build structure. That structure begins with deciding what your non-negotiables are, not what you'll try to do, what you will live by. That might mean setting a consistent sleep schedule so your mind is sharp. That might mean moving your body every day, not to look a certain way, but to feel strong. That might mean blocking distractions at certain times so your attention is no longer hijacked by the noise of the world. These are not dramatic changes, but repeated over time they completely reshape your identity. There's no shortcut to this. It's not about downloading an app, reading a book, or watching a video that fires you up. It's about doing the small thing you said you would do every day until it becomes a part of you. You build self-respect by keeping promises to yourself. You build confidence by following through when no one is checking. That kind of discipline doesn't come from pressure. It comes from value. When your values are clear, your habits get aligned, and when your habits are aligned, your results follow. Most people fail not because they lack vision, but because their habits never matched their goal. You can dream all you want, but if your daily choices reflect fear, avoidance, or comfort, your future will match those behaviors. This is why changing your habits is not about motivation. It's about creating a new standard for yourself, a higher level of responsibility, a deeper level of intention. You have to decide what kind of person you want to become, and then you have to live like that person now, not when things get easier, not when you feel inspired, now. That's how you bridge the gap between who you are and who you could be. You stop living by old patterns. You stop repeating habits just because they're familiar. You stop giving power to routines that no longer support your growth. And yes, this process takes effort, but that effort is worth it, because the alternative is far worse. The alternative is waking up 5 years from now, realizing that nothing's changed because your habits stayed the same, that your potential never showed up because you never created the conditions for it to grow. That's a hard truth to face, but it's also a powerful one, because it means you have control. You don't need to change everything at once. You just need to change what you repeat. Pick one habit that doesn't belong in your future. Replace it with one that does. Do it every day, whether you feel like it or not. Track it, protect it, let it become part of how you live, not just what you aim for. That's how habits rewrite the story of your life, not by force, but by consistency. You also have to forgive yourself for the habits you've carried until now. They got you here. Maybe they were survival habits, maybe they were coping mechanisms, but you're not stuck with them. You can outgrow them. You can let them go with respect, without judgment. Growth isn't about punishment, it's about evolution. And that starts by being kind enough to yourself to say, I can do better. As you rewrite your habits, you'll feel resistance. Your brain will try to pull you back into what's familiar. That's normal. That doesn't mean something's wrong. That means something is working. The discomfort is the signal that you're disrupting an old pattern. That's progress. Lean into it, trust it. Keep going. Eventually the new habits will take hold, and what once felt hard will feel normal. What once felt out of reach will feel natural. Because you didn't wait for life to hand you something, you built the system. You built the mindset. You built the routine. That's power. That's ownership. You don't have to wait for permission to start living differently. You just have to take the next step. Wake up earlier. Move with purpose. Talk to yourself with respect. Build habits that reflect the future you're aiming for. Not tomorrow. Today. Because the habits you repeat today are the ones deciding where you'll end up, and you deserve a future built on strength, not shortcuts, on intention, not reaction, on truth, not excuses. That future is yours, if you're willing to rewrite the habits that shape it.